In this episode, I am welcoming my very first guest onto the podcast, my friend, fellow life coach, and performer, Lindsey Brett Carothers. We had a really juicy conversation about what it means to be a successful professional in this industry today. You're going to want to listen to this on repeat and take some freaking notes because there are some golden nuggets of wisdom in this episode. You ready? Let's do it. Hello, you are listening to the Love Your Life as a Performer podcast. I'm Kelly Youngman, and I am the life coach for performers. I help actors, singers, and dancers love themselves and their lives way more. So keep listening to learn how you can love your life both on and off the stage. Hello, and welcome back to episode 25 of the Love Your Life as a Performer podcast. Today, I am so freaking excited because I have one of my very good friends and coach bestie, Lindsey Brett Carothers, here as a guest, my very first guest on the podcast. Yeah. And she is the friggin' best. And she's actually the person who introduced me to my very first life coach. Before that, I think I was kind of in the world of like, oh, I don't need a life coach. I'm already manifesting. I don't even know what coaching is. That's for other people. And when I saw Lindsey freaking killing it in her life during the pandemic, I was like, I need to know your freaking secret. So she is the one who introduced me to my very first coach. And I knew that I had to start working with her because Lindsey was just such a freaking example of what was possible in her energy, in what she was creating, and just in the way that she was showing up in her own life. So I'm so freaking happy and excited to have her. I'm like, literally, I can't even talk. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have her here as my guest. Welcome, Lindsey. Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited. I'm very smiley right now.
We're both just looking at each other on Zoom, just smiling.
Just smiling. We both have black nails.
We both have black nails and we're both smiling. Okay.
Yep.
Lindsey, I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but tell people about yourself in just a few sentences. Even though you are so freaking amazing, it can't be defined in that little bit amount of time.
Oh, I'm just an infinite being. Okay.
Yes.
But if I had to make it a label or digestible, I guess I would say I'm a life coach for creatives. So I work with a lot of actors, writers, producers. I also work with a nurse. So I also coach people that are not necessarily in the entertainment industry, but anybody that wants to create their life on their terms, which also feels a little bit like coach speaky, but just basically like people that want to just do things their way and stop feeling stuck. A lot of people come to me when they feel stuck. And I'm also a performer still. I'm an actor and I audition for things when I want to that feel exciting and not when I don't feel like it. So that's been a really nice transition. And now I live actually in West Virginia with my partner, and he also has his own business. So I'm just always around entrepreneurs, creators, and I love working with performers also because I am one and I get our brains. Yeah. And you sort of gave us this prompt or kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit, but just helping performers feel successful and like their life is theirs and that they're like on their own mountain. Like they're on, they want to be on, and they're doing the thing that they want to be doing how they want to do it.
I love that. And it's exactly what we're going to dive into today. And like, just for a little backstory, Lindsey and I met doing a freaking world premiere of a musical, The Flamingo Kid at Hartford Stage. And like, I don't even know, that was 2019, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like,
that was before the pandemic. We were like Broadway bound, getting ready to do this show, a new show, original cast, out of town tryout, and then COVID happened.
Yeah. Which also, like, that was a whole journey in itself, right? Like, I think there's still moments when I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, a lot has happened. And I know that we've had this conversation before, but like, honestly, these past few years have been pretty great for us. Right. And I feel like because we've decided to make it that way, right? We've decided to lean into that and to create consciously still throughout that time. Not to say that we didn't have our own highs and lows, but like we have been able to continue to create.
Hmm. I'd love to speak to that a little bit too, because I feel like that can be a sort of a provocative subject to like be thriving or be okay in the pandemic. And that's not to dismiss what happened and also the tragedy and the trauma collectively and individually that we've gone through. And I think what led me kind of to not feeling like I was a victim of the pandemic, one, I was lucky that I had my health. And two, we were collecting unemployment for, I don't know if you were, but I was collecting unemployment for the 6 months after Flamingo Kid. So, when a show closes, we can collect unemployment for 6 months. So I was already used to collecting unemployment before everybody kind of went on unemployment, like not just the entertainment industry, but like the world. Like so many people went on unemployment.
Yeah.
I just remember getting to the point where I was like so tired of collecting unemployment and being like, I have two thumbs and a brain. Like I have the internet. I don't want to click this button and only make this amount of money. Like I want to use my brain and my gifts and my skills somehow. And I was sort of okay with it not being performing, but just like I want to feel valuable. Like I want to be useful in the world. So it sort of was like I was
So fucking excited. I'm like sitting here watching Lindsay talk and I'm like, oh fuck, this is about to be so good. Okay, but keep going.
yeah. So it was kind of like I was sort of set up to when COVID happened, and it was also, I will say before that, I was very much ready to not be paycheck to paycheck. I was like, I'm tired. Like I was teaching a bunch of yoga, putting a schedule together, trying to pay the bills while also auditioning full time. And I was like, this is exhausting. Like I cannot be on the A train from Inwood at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's going local to go teach yoga in Gramercy
Yikes,
for
McGikes.
like $30. It was just like, and auditioning full time because you don't get paid to audition. So it's just, I was ready for a change. I was like, got to do something different. And then the unemployment piece of like, here's unemployment again. And I just was like, I would rather be working
Mm.
than, and unemployment as an actor, it's intended for us to be able to audition and collect it. Like it's meant to allow us to have that transition into the next thing. But a lot of times, I know for me, it started to feel like, oh, this is just kind of my life. I click this button and then I babysit under the table. And like that just didn't feel good anymore. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore. So
Yeah. I'll just briefly say that I was in a similar boat. After Flamingo Kid, I had done a couple other contracts, but like right pretty much at the end of 2019 was when I finished my last show. And I had something lined up for like April of 2020. And then then the pandemic came and it was like, okay, all right. And we're like just kind of waiting it out. But then it's similar to you. It was like, well, I have this time, let me use it. Let me use my brain and my other interests. And I think what allowed us both to do that was that we also, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I also felt very highly motivated still in the pandemic to know that my career wasn't ending. Like it was going to come back eventually. And like my mentality about it was like, I'm just going to be freaking ready. And yeah, like, did that kind of get a little tired after like 6 months and then a year? And then, yes, right. But then there's still that energy of like, how can I stay in it for me? And what does it look like to still also, like you were saying, create your life and not just be on some like freaking hold? Right. And I think that is
yeah,
the sort of
the whole,
energy. Yes. It's like we put our lives on hold, our careers on pause, and like feel like it's just gone the minute we're not on a contract. And so, I mean, I think that ties into what I was hoping to talk about today was just like, how do you and how do we create that for ourselves when our lives are not on pause, where we get to make money in any way that we want? Because now we're both freaking entrepreneurs and we're both freaking running coaching businesses. and we're both making money in our own way as we're still loving ourselves and our lives in the performing arts. Like it is actually possible. It is actually possible. Like, period. It's possible, period. And I think it does require, I loved what you said in the beginning of just like being on your own mountain and like also knowing like what your own definition of success is, like what it actually means to you to be a working professional and like what that looks like. Because the truth is, it doesn't always look like being on a contract or being on set. A lot of the times there are those in betweens, and that's actually where all the freaking magic is, right?
Yeah. hmm I just like the mountain analogy because I even met a client on a hike. I just like to use that. Like, I feel like I'm
So
on my own
fun.
mountain. So, as we're talking about being a performer, being an artist, and feeling successful, I'll just speak about one client specifically who's coming to mind. And this person, they had been on Broadway, successful shows. But it's like we all know, like, once you get that Broadway show, then it's like, what about the next one? Or now I want to be a lead, or now I got to get the Tony nomination. Like it never ends. It's always like this I'll be happy when syndrome. We think
Mm,
if things are different in the future, it's going to be better, but really it's just like the next version of like, oh, now it needs to be that. Now I need to be in a long running show. Now I need to be understudying. Now I need to be like, it's just there's always like a circumstance. Oh, now I need to be. Yeah, it's
yeah.
always this next thing. I can think of this one client, and he had done a bunch of great stuff, and then it was like, but I also want to be creative. I want to do my own thing. So then this person put on a show, and then it was like, then they were back in a Broadway show, and then they were teaching, and it's like, wait, it's not just like, oh, I have this one piece where I'm in a Broadway show, because what happens when that show closes,
Yes.
or what happens
Every
when
show closes.
every show pretty much, but
Yes.
even that, like, do you want to be for 20 years? Like maybe that's your life, maybe that's your path. Great, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like most people get tired after a while, or they want to do something different, or they got into the arts to be creative and to keep stretching themselves and trying new things. So like even the stuckness that can come up when somebody's in a show, the same show for 10 years, like that's even
Yes.
it's
It's
like,
just a different iteration of the same thing because we all have human brains that are doing the things that human brains do.
yeah. So it's like, do you want to have your own business also? Do you want to create your own show? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't want to write a show, but maybe you want to also like be in a loving relationship, or actually like have a savings account and invest.
Yes.
It's like, how do we have a whole ass life and not
Yes.
just put everything, and we've talked about this before, sort of putting things on hold because it's like, well, I can only do this for, I can only like grind this out for a couple more years. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, why are we grinding for X amount of time? Why are we waiting to start on other things? It's the
Yeah.
waiting. The waiting, it's the hold, it's the waiting versus creating
Yeah.
that is like the demise of the actor spirit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm just dying because, yes. I mean, this is literally like, I feel like has become my biggest mission is just showing performers that you can have it all and you can have it all now. Right. And to go back to the thinking that you were sharing earlier of like, okay, now I've been in a Broadway show. Now I got to be like original Broadway cast. I mean, I recognize that even for myself. And the thing is, like, I just want to say, I don't think it's good, bad, right, or wrong to have those ambitions of like striving for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because truthfully, that's just human nature. There's always going to be new desires that are born out of our current ones. But it really comes down to how do you want it to feel along the way? And the holding and the waiting for the satisfaction until you get there actually is the thing that slows you down from even moving towards it, right? Like you can want more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and it's all available for you. And it's just like, how do you want to feel on the way? How do you want to feel on the journey? And when you're making your self-worth and sort of tying that in to like your current Broadway resume or your current, company or whatever you're doing, then like your value as a human becomes conditional. And we know that
Mm,
it's not fucking conditional. Your value is always there because of you and who you are, right? And so, yeah, I could scream shout about this all day, but it's really like, how do you want to feel along the way? And so, I guess my question to you, Linz, because we're both in similar scenarios, we both have coaching businesses, we're both still like actively pursuing our careers in a way that feels good for us. How do you define your success as an actor? And like, what's the measurement for you? And like, I think a lot of clients come to me wanting or needing to redefine this for themselves so that it isn't attached to like, my one credit is like the thing that defines me. So I'm just curious, what do you feel like is the measurement for you?
hmm Specifically as an actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it's, do I enjoy working on this material? Am I excited about this contract? Like, would I reorganize my life? Is it worth it to me to
Mm.
go do this contract? Like, why would I do this? Even last summer, I think we talked about this. I booked an emergency cover for something, and it felt like a lot of moving parts to be able to go into the show in literally, it was a Sunday, and they were like, you'll be in on Wednesday night. And it was the lead. And I was like, I don't know if that is gonna be, it could be, it would be cool. I think I do that. I could. But you just make a decision, the ability of focus that like I know I could do it, but I was like, I'm actually away on like it was 4th of July weekend. I was like, I'm away for the weekend. I'd have to travel so much and then be not rested and then cram. Like I'd have to leave what I'm doing right now and go sit in the car because I was at this cabin, like in the wood. Like I was away in, and I was like, I'd have to be then doing that, the material to then go in on Wednesday and it would be done by next Sunday. And I was like, ooh, I could take Instagram. That'd be cool to post it on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. The
Like
Insta cred.
Instacred. But I was like, people to see me on Instagram doing a cool thing? Or do I care more about how I feel?
Mm.
And I know a little part of me got a lot like that, my little ego and that little part of me that loves saving the day. I was like, ooh, that'd be so fun to like get in there and have just be like nailing it and how good that would
Yes, because you
feel.
fucking would have.
Yeah.
We both know you would have fucking nailed it if you decided you
Yeah.
wanted to do it.
Yeah. And I was like, and I had all this emotion come up. I could feel the energy of like them having to find a cover for this. And I was like, oh, I feel this high stakes. Like this is high stakes for them. They're calling me on the weekend and I'm in a cabin and I have no service. I have to get on Wi-Fi. It was like, this is like the stakes are high. And I was like, wait, do I want to take that on? And that felt like a successful moment because in the past, I feel like I would have dropped everything and anything to go be in a show or to go be validated by saving the day and being that person. And I was like, what
Yes.
if I don't have to save the day anymore? Like at my own expense, like where when it's gonna like
Yes.
really be really a lot. I was
Yes.
like, I don't know if I think I'm okay. And like they'll find somebody else. Like they're gonna find somebody great. And
Yeah.
that person's gonna be like rested and probably because they live in like they won't have to travel. You know, it's just like they're gonna figure it out and it's gonna be okay. It made me feel like I was in charge of my experience. I made the choice in a way that felt good instead of putting myself through something that like to prove or it's like I don't need I'm good, I think. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And thank you so much. I was so honored and so like it felt good to book something to be like, cool, I got an offer this 2 years later after this thing. Like that's cool. And I
Yeah.
love the show. I mean, there's even like that FOMO. I was like, I'm really sad because I want to do it, but I also want to just choose how I feel in the experience of it.
Yes. I think that's so freaking amazing and valuable and such a great example of how successful can even sometimes be not doing the thing. Right. And even just like the success of like, I'm the one in control of my life and like I get to decide. Right. Like I feel like so many of my clients have coached through this in different iterations of like, oh, I'm going on vacation or this, and like feeling like somehow then they're going to be like missing out on something when like truly success can be like allowing yourself to enjoy your vacation, allowing
Yeah.
yourself to enjoy your life and know that more is coming.
Yeah.
Right. You're never going to miss
Yeah.
the thing that's actually meant for you. And like I talk about this a lot with my clients too, of like, and just getting the offer like gave you that spark of like, fuck yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
in demand. Of course I am. And like, it's
Hmm.
okay. This is a no.
Yeah. And there was something about not needing it. Like I
Ooh,
don't need it to be okay.
yes.
That feels successful. Like
Fuck
that feels like my
yeah.
life is a success if I'm okay without needing to be to like choose something or like say yes to something I that feels like it's not right for me in the moment. Like if I
Ooh,
cannot override my body's consent and be like, I can, this means I'm successful because I don't need this
yeah.
to feel okay.
Oh,
Uh,
fuck yes. Not override my body's consent. Because truly, right? And I've been talking about this more and more of like, we always know we have like a fuck yes that is guiding us, and we can tell when we're doing something out of obligation or we're doing something because we actually want to. And I don't know, I know we talked about this. I don't know if I've shared it on the podcast yet, but I had a similar circumstance come up in this past year when I had said yes to a contract. And it was one of those things I could feel was like, you know what, this could be really fun. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting to like work and, yeah, like I was like talking myself into the yes instead of really just honoring that it wasn't a fuck yes. So I said yes because it came in this most magical way. And at the end of it, I really ended up turning that contract down and saying no and holding space for the things that actually were lighting me up. There was like a couple other contracts and like sort of availability checks that I had received. And I was like, that shit feels fucking fun, you know? And it's like I had to just sit with the fact that my truth in that moment was like that other project like is amazing. There's nothing wrong with that project, but it's not the thing that I'm most excited about. And being able to say no to that is what created the space to go and do Chicago at the Muni, which was like a contract that I was so freaking thrilled to do. And like you said, it goes back to like, then it's like, oh, I'm just saying yes to the things that light me up. And like, I'm willing and want to participate in, but not from the space of like, I need a job. I need a
yeah.
contract. I'll take anything. Like that
Yeah.
energy isn't a vibrational match to like attracting the dream contracts that we really, really like actually want to hold space for.
Yeah. Cause it's not even about the job. It's how you think you will feel when you get the job. So
Yes.
if I'm more focused on feeling good and listening to myself and my experience of my life, it's like, oh, I actually would rather choose peace. And in this moment, I'd rather choose grounded than frantic and tired. And I also want to say, it's not that a part of me didn't want to do it, right? It's kind of
Mm.
like there was a part of me that was like, I want to do this. And it's okay for me to make a choice that feels more nurturing or just not from like, it was not out of fear. I wasn't like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Like I could feel the frequency of the choice
Mm.
that was like frantic. There was like a frantic, like really fast paced choice versus like, you know what? There was just something different. Saying no to that, turning it down felt like, oh, I'm prioritizing just feeling okay, like feeling good and not being so activated. And there's nuance to that. But in that moment for me, that felt like a success compared to feeling like I need to accept this to look a certain way or to like make other people happy. Because people also
Yes.
accept jobs. It's like, oh, I want to make my agents happy. It's like,
Well, I mean, I think in some ways, I don't think that was like the grounding factor for me in my choice, but it definitely came up in my head when I was telling them I wanted to back out of it. It was like 3 weeks
yeah,
till the contract started. And I had to sit with the fact that like they might be disappointed in me because I say this, and that's okay. Right. And
yeah,
I still have to be willing to like sit with that, hold it, and like make my decision from the space of honoring what's true for me. And I think
yeah,
that honestly is like sounds more resonant to like the scenario you were in. It was like, I'm just going to honor the fuck out of what I want and what feels best for me in this circumstance. It's like that will
hmm
never steer you wrong.
mm-mm. And that's why coaching is so valuable because it is learning how to feel uncomfortable when you advocate for yourself or make a decision like, oh, I might upset my agents or I might upset the creative, like whatever. This might look bad in air
Air
quotes.
quote. Air
Yeah,
quote
we
looks
quote.
bad.
Yeah. Or, yeah, right. So, grow our capacity to feel our feelings, which I think is also so funny because as actors, we're taught to feel our feelings, but we're taught to feel like like feelings of the character versus like
Yes.
our own discomfort and people pleasing or
Yes.
listening to our own body's consent, like Kelly's consent, Lindsay's consent, not like just a character I'm playing, but your own
Yes.
body, like feeling your actual own feelings. I feel like a lot of actors resist feelings versus feeling through them fully and then being
Yes.
able to move on.
Yes. And I mean, like Lindsay gets all of my calls and all of my texts when I'm feeling my big feelings. But like, that's a journey. And like, really, it's just like coaching is so magical because it teaches you that skill set of actually understanding how you feel without making it wrong, adding shame, adding like all these other thoughts about what it means about you because you're having this feeling. Right. And it just makes it so easy to know yourself and honor yourself when you actually
Yeah.
feel things. What a concept.
Right. Because as I know for me as a performer, we are so practiced in hiding behind not hiding, but that's what I feel like I did a lot of the time was hide behind the character. It's like, oh, when I'm on stage and going through this thing, I can finally be seen. But it was like
Mm,
not really Lindsay's feelings. It was Glinda or whoever.
yeah.
Just casual Glinda drop. But like, it's so working with actors, it's interesting to bring them back to themselves
Yes.
and where they feel at home in their own body with their own feelings. And it's like, oh, if I'm going to start a business, like that's just me. That's not a character that I can just say the lines. Like I have to put myself out there. That feels almost more visible than playing a character.
Yes. You fucking know I relate to that. It's like the being seenness of, yeah, like putting our voices and our ideas and our sharing our knowledge and our skill sets with the world. Yeah, that's fucking vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like, I just love too that it's like just kind of circling back to like what you said earlier of like a lot of performers do still have like, I think that for us, like this is what we want to share with the world. This is the impact we want to make. And a lot of performers feel that like it's not just their art. And like you can just choose to honor that and like cultivate that in the creation of your life is like allowing that impact to be made when you're, yeah, honoring yourself, feeling your feelings, like taking the courage and all of the everything and putting it out into the world, like that's fucking creating.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the creation process.
Yeah. Like maybe you working on your own show or you creating a new relationship in your life or creating money outside or like you love teaching or working with people or creating a concert series or whatever, like whatever it is, you allowing yourself to show up vulnerably and visibly there, this makes your acting so much easier and better and more fun because
Yes.
you're actually like, that's the part of you now that's your whole ass life. Like now all of you is included. You're not just a performer. You get to be seen and known in all the areas, which
Yeah.
allows you to not feel like you're waiting. Like that's what,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're in the frequency of creation, like you said, when you're like not waiting on any part of your life that feels like it wants your attention. If you're not waiting, then you're in the frequency of creation, which just creates more and makes you magnetic and
Fuck
makes
yeah.
you feel better. Because you're like, oh, I actually like am dating this person I really like. Or, oh, I actually am like not living paycheck to paycheck. I have like some savings now, or I'm investing, or oh, I did my own show or whatever. Like it's not, I think even just to say, I find, and this has been true for me too, it's like, oh, if I work on my own thing, then I'm not as available when the opportunity
Yes.
comes.
Yeah.
Instead of like, no, you're like more available.
More
You're
freaking available.
Yeah, and you're like more magnetic, and you walk in the room, and they're like, "Oh, this is just a cool person." Like, "Oh,
Yes.
they don't need this. Like, they're cool. Oh, they have a whole day. They have a whole life.
Yes.
Wow, okay, that feels so different
Yes.
to walk in the room with that energy than like, I need this, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Fuck yes. I mean, this
I will
just,
say too.
I was like, this is just like, we could talk about this for hours and hours and
I
hours
know.
and days and days and days, because literally, this is what makes you a magnet for the shit you want to allow and receive in your life. But you have to be on the frequency of creation and the frequency of like loving your life. And when you love your life more and when you love yourself more, you literally will be a magnet for all the
Yeah,
shit you want.
and I would offer too, like the frequency of creation could literally be like I write for 10 minutes. I'm gonna
Yes.
write. I'm gonna free write for 10 minutes, or
Yes.
I'm gonna just sing a song for 10 minutes. Like creation doesn't have to be like, oh, I gotta make my show now, like a whole
I
ass
gotta
cabaret.
pull up my boots and I gotta get
Yeah,
going.
no, it could just be like, I'm gonna have that conversation I've been avoiding. Because
Yes.
now you're creating and you're closing a loop, you're creating a new relationship with that person. You can like it frequency of creation is just like acting on the things that have been sort of looping in your brain and just taking action on them.
So freaking good. Lindsey, I am so grateful for you coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts and your genius. And I just love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Tell people where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Lindsey Brett, LindseyBrett, or on Facebook, Lindsey Brett Carothers. That's pretty much where I hang out now. I'm getting a new website. So
Bye.
that's launched. I mean, it's going to be Lindsey Brett Carothers. It's the same, it's my domain, but you can find more coaching stuff there. And yeah, that's mostly where I hang out. So come find me on social media and then you can see what I'm up to from there. But I want to just share like before I booked the Flamingo Kid, kind of like the whole life frequency of creation. Like the night before I booked Flamingo Kid, I went to see the Cher show and I drank 3 fruit martinis at Mont Blanc, which was on like 57th, which is not there anymore. But it was like, had won the lottery with my friend. I'm like watching the Cher show, loving it, the costumes, the dancing, the fierceness, the bodies, everything. And then I'm like the next morning was just so inspired by what I had seen and just had so much fun that energy I took into the audition. So it wasn't like I could have stayed home, been like, I'm not gonna drink. I'm gonna just like stay here. Not to like advocate drinking, but like have
That's
fun.
hilarious because my last episode, I literally was talking about like vomiting on my suede boots.
Okay, so like maybe just to like have like a fruit martini and just enjoy if it's for
Joy
celebration,
life.
enjoy life. Like it doesn't have to be so high stakes and so serious, and actually going out and having experiences and connecting with humans and going and seeing something that's inspiring is going to be more beneficial a lot of the time than being so hard on yourself and thinking you have to do things perfectly and like not enjoying the journey like the night before the audition.
Yes, that audition too was so fucking intense. Freaking Dennis Jones choreography, like rolling around with Robbie.
To top, a good thing because I was drenched in sweat. I was like, I don't know, at a beach club, I'm gonna wear a bathing suit.
Yeah.
Share show, they're wearing crazy things. I'm just gonna wear a bathing suit.
So fun.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I love you, Lindsey.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my guest.
You.
Thank you for
Thanks
chatting.
for having me.
This is inspiring to me and to everyone. And yeah. Thanks.
I love you. You're amazing and powerful. See you next time.
See you next time. Toodaloo. Meet you back here for another episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, make sure to share it with a friend who is also an actor, singer, or dancer. You can also help spread the word by leaving us a review wherever you listen to podcasts in order to help people find this resource. Lastly, you can find me on Instagram at Kelly Youngman Wellness, and if you're interested in coaching, make sure to head to kellyyoungmanwellness.com/waitlist to join my list now. See you soon.